I think we are live. All right, welcome everybody back to the shit show. I know you know why I call it that. Uh, Real quick, give me a second. Lord God, my words tonight, help us do your will now and forever. Amen. All
Amen.
right, JC, what's up, brother? How you doing? Um, so I got a good guest tonight. It's a hell of a redemption arc story. It's extremely, I would say, interesting, and the I see a lot of people down in the dumps recently where there's no way to get out of this. Like we're never going to own a house. We're never going to be able to do any of these financial things that everybody else was able to do because, money situations. Well, this is just a perspective of how quickly things can change around regardless of all these other factors because a few people, myself included, started off way later in life and are not doing badly. So there's a lot of doomers out there, and I thought Joe's story would be a good way for us to kind of put things in perspective. Um, One thing, I got some of the stickers for the merch. Uh, Meat Cavern, I know you asked me. Anybody that wants them, here's your ticket to the shit show. Uh, Anybody wants them, just DM me and I will send me an address to send it to, and I will send them out. Meat Cavern asked me already, and I will get that one out tomorrow. Believe it or not, I went to the store to get um, envelopes. There was no envelopes in Walmart. How's that? Like the
Which is
shelves?
wild.
Yeah, the shelves are empty for. They wanted you to buy 500 envelopes for 20 something dollars, and I'm like, I don't really need 500. I just needed the small box. All the small boxes are gone. Anyway, Drew, say hi to everybody.
What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Hope all is well. And get ready, buckle up for this episode of the shit show.
As I'm sure everyone can tell, Drew is in a great mood tonight, and he's gonna be very talkative. All right, Joe, why don't you do? I mean, I know there's some things that you can probably say to start the story off. You want to maybe introduce yourself, get everybody familiar with who you are, what your name is, and whatever else you want to share, real quick.
Yeah, Joey. Jay, we've been friends forever. Been through a lot. I don't know. Where I came from to where life is now, it's like unfathomable. I guess it's kind of unbelievable. Uh, I'm living a life now that I never thought I deserved, which is wild in itself. I'm doing things now that I never thought would be possible ever in my life. So, there's people out there that got the shit. I guess it's like I started really late in life, as Shay said in the beginning. Like we started late. We we started doing the stuff we should have been doing at 18, 19, 20 years old. Instead, we kind of did other things, and I couldn't imagine if I'd have started then where it would be now. But needless to say, too, also like the people out there that don't think I can't do this, I ain't worth shit. No, I have nobody. Like we've been there, we've been there many times actually, uh, and here we are today. Like pretty wild coming from Jay. Like I said, I've known you a long time. Where we came from to actually doing something like this, you know, like a super wild ride. I guess you would say. You know,
Said, bro, I think the perspective is super important because the
it is.
younger generations right now are they have it in their heads that they're not going to be able to succeed, and it's primarily because of the economic factors. There's a lot of the price of housing, and the price of this, and not enough jobs, and like at the same time that, like, I get it, I also get that, you don't understand that there are still plenty of opportunities. And while when we were younger, the restrictions weren't exactly the same as they are now economically, they're still similar in the way because of the way we kind of shot ourselves in the foot. If that if that makes
Yeah.
sense to anybody, like especially when you consider the super late start at it, right? Like when you wait. I For me, example, like late 20s is when I actually started to try to like succeed. Because for me, back then, all from my childhood all the way up until that point, it was literally I didn't care whether I lived or died. So there was no look towards the future. How do we build? Like that was never a thought process. So
Yeah,
that's what
no
I'm
one ever thought
trying.
they were going to make 20 years old. So we never planned over 20
Right.
years old. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So why don't we try let's try to do this. I mean, because we could probably go through a whole litany of all of the things, but let's try to do you where would you like to start? Like you were raised, I don't know if how specific you want to get, so I'm going to leave it out. You can fill it in if you want to, but you were raised in the city, uh and you got into some stuff, right? Some
Yeah.
stuff that we probably shouldn't have gotten into. Um, why don't you go ahead and just say what you want to say about it?
Um, Raised like I had, I can't say I had a terrible childhood. Um, I had a mother and father. Dad was doing his thing, work. What all dads did back in the day: work, go to the bar, come home, eat, go to bed. So I had a father present, but not present. But he provided, so I won't take that from him. We had what we needed growing up, but Catholic schools, and which I think everybody in our neighborhood, that was the only option, was to go to the Catholic school there. Um, we grew up I grew up having what I needed at a young age, at a house. I mean, I remember there was periods of I remember eating ketchup sandwiches. So it's not like I came from some crazy money or any stuff like that. My dad worked hard. He provided for us. He was a union uh, HVAC union tin knocker, so he had a better job than a lot of people. So we had some, like when I needed school clothes, I had them. When I needed school shoes, I had them. What I didn't have, and I come to find out later in life, what I didn't have was that, I guess, acceptance from my father. I, I had a family, but I didn't feel like I belonged, if that makes sense. Or I didn't feel like a void was being filled inside me. So, younger age, we're starting 12, 13, stuff like that. I did what we all did in our neighborhood. We turned to the streets, um, turned to everybody hanging out. And and Jay, when we grew up, like, our playground was 10 city blocks. Like, you never had to worry about anything. You come in when the streetlights were on. I remember playing release when I was younger, and it was literally 10 city blocks was the boundaries to the game. You knew somebody on every street. You might get your ass beat by your buddy's mom because you were doing something. That's just how we grew up. I got yelled at many times by my friends' moms over stuff. Um, so we were kind of like in the streets all the time, but not in a bad way. Whether it's playing, off the wall or whatever, release, tag, whatever. So we were familiar running the streets. What happened is we start going up the park, and when we turned, I don't know, I'd say 13, 14, I was always the youngest of the crew. Like, I was always, my cousins were really crazy growing up, and they were always well liked and all that. And so I was always around with all the older kids growing up. So that got me into a lot of things I shouldn't have been into. Like, I always use this now. I went from playing baseball in the park to selling dope in the park. And I don't even know how that transition came. Like, I don't even know where I went wrong on that. Like, it was like one day, we're playing Little League, and it seemed like in a blink of an eye, We're up here drinking 40s and selling dope in the park.
Listen, I mean, for me, it was pure opportunity, right? Like I
Yeah.
know when I started, it was like you couldn't find weed when you wanted to, but I knew who had a lot of weed, and it was like, well, I'll just go get the weed and sell the weed. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and that was what everybody aspired to be in our neighborhood. The biggest drug
Yeah.
dealer. Like
Yep.
nobody wanted to be like the best business owner or the best worker or the best employee. Everybody wanted to be the biggest drug dealer. Um, that's what we looked up to. My mom's side of the family, like and literally they're all gone now. And most of them didn't make it past 50. Um, that was like I had an uncle that was in the game, and I remember walking in at a young age to my house, and there were stacks of kilos on my dining room table, and my mom flipping out, telling my uncle Eugene to get it out of her house. I didn't really know what it was. I was so young, but I remember the argument. Like so I was like kind of brought up around that, but not familiar. I remember people coming up to me before I ever got into the streets and say, "Hey, why don't you talk to your uncle for me?" I'm like, "About what?" I had no idea. Like, like he was who he was, or he did what he did. I'm like, "About what, dude?" I go see if I could start selling coke for him. I'm like, "What, Uncle Huge?" Like, it was like mind blowing to me. Even though, then I started to think back of the shit I seen growing up, and it's like seeing the guns in the closet and the money everywhere. And he used to say, he had like a nice house and pools and the Cadillacs and all that. And I say, Uncle Hughes, when I was little, I said, "What do you do for a living?" He said, "I push shopping carts at Giant Eagle." And I'm not kidding when I say this. There was a period of my life I said, I'm going to grow up and push shopping carts because that's what I thought. That's how young I was. That's what I thought he did to get all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so it became appealing after a little while. Like, okay, I want some nice shit too. You know, not knowing how he got it, or not. Here's the better thing: not knowing the price he paid to have it, which is even worse. You know, um, we tend to pay. I've tend to pay high prices for low level things many times in my life.
Just interject real quick because it's a good point. I often say this. People will say things along the lines of that this person is getting away with it. Look how they're doing. Look at this stuff because it's always stuff. It's always
Stuff.
about
That's all.
stuff. Um, but I'm always like, listen, I don't think because like I was on the other side basically for a long time. I don't think you understand that there's a price being paid that you don't get. Like, there's a whole lot of stuff, and not to mention the stuff that's coming down the pipe inevitably. That other stuff is coming. It's very, very. There's no retirement plan for a drug dealer, brother. Like I know that like there's this idea that like I'm gonna get enough money and I'm gonna be untouchable, but very rarely are people smart enough to get enough and then turn that into some kind of a business or something and not get caught. So like I say it all the time. I'll say it again right now that like you see people that they're doing these things and they look like they're getting over. Trust me, they're not. Because on top of everything else, there's no peace when you're there.
None.
There's a lot of paranoia. There's no
None.
peace. So like, there is a heavy price to pay constantly, even though you are acquiring some of this stuff.
I remember my prayers used to be at night. God, I know what I'm doing is completely wrong. Just keep your hand on me. Like that was my prayer every night. Just please keep your hand on me. Because here's the thing: there was a period in my life I'll get into it in a little bit. Is I would have to circle my block 3 times with a pistol just to make sure no one was waiting for me around my house.
Yep.
Terrible. I literally couldn't imagine living like that now. Like it's so wild that at some point in my life that was normal. Like that's the wildest part about it. Like especially like we got kids and that and all that now. Like I couldn't imagine having to circle my my cul-de-sac now. I couldn't imagine circling my cul-de-sac to make sure there's no parked cars out there ready to snatch me up when hopefully they catch me when I'm not ready. Like that's a wild place to live. And back to the thing of like for stuff. That's it. For stuff.
Yep.
For the name and the fame. And that's all it was again. Like you can't. I knew there was only two ways I was going to get out of the life I was living, and it's wild because I lived two different lives before this, which is super wild. But either dead or in jail, and that was the two ways out. And and the sad part is, at some point in my life, I was okay with that, you know, and I had a son at that time, which is super wild that I was really okay with that of being like that, you know. Um, but I mean, it's I could go on. I mean, I could go on stories forever of how I lived and the things I did. But back to the park thing, and if you want me to elaborate more on that, like through that phase of my life,
Here's
it's
what
like,
wh- wh- what I what I think is the best way to go is to paint the picture and explain. I think you did pretty good. Like we grew up in it was in the city. There was that opportunity that was there. Um, Took advantage, I guess you could say, of the opportunity. Now, how long were you doing this opportunity?
well, that's the thing. Once we crossed over from like, I always use that pivotal point from playing baseball in the park to partying and getting high in the park and selling drugs in the park and doing all that stuff. Once we crossed over to that, I think what happened with us and Jay, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Heroin came into our neighborhood and
Mhm.
nobody really knew what it was.
Nope. Nope.
Nobody understood the depth you can go with this stuff. Like, because we didn't really know anybody that was strung out on heroin. We didn't really know the effects later. I mean, you see some, you know, older dudes and that, and you're just like, yeah, that's wild. We're like, yeah, we'll never be like that. Like, but we didn't know they were shooting heroin and all that stuff. Like nobody under, so it all started out of like, hey, try this, or oh yeah, we could try that. Oh, it's fun for a little bit until it wasn't, until it became, and I'm talking, I don't know, 15 years old. You know, I look at my son now, who's 17, and I couldn't imagine going through what my parents had to go through uh, with me at that age. Like, I couldn't imagine looking at him like he's getting ready to go to college now and stuff like that. I couldn't imagine looking at him and just saying, I hope you make it another day. I hope I don't have to bury you tomorrow. And that's how my parents lived for years. You know,
And
like,
just to elaborate real quick, Joe, like for people that because you and I probably understand this, but I doubt very few probably do. But when heroin, it was stamp bags. It wasn't like this was the transition from when stamp bags, fentanyl became a thing. Like we were the ones, the generation that found it when it was introduced to the streets. And when you're to take into consideration, you're getting, you could see the marketing as well, where it's like it's this tiny little thing, like,
yeah,
and a little bit of it has some powder in it, right? And it's stamped, and it has some of them are cool names and what have you, right? No, and it's like I specifically remember watching them when they got back from New Jersey with it, uh, and it was like nobody really knew what it exactly was. So because the transition from like maybe partying with pills and coke and stuff like that, even drinking and everything, as much as that all might happen, all the smoking the weed, but like nobody actually knew what was in that bag. And then the generation that it took under, from just not realizing it, because it was like you only have to do a little bit and you're rocked for
mhm,
the other half of the day. But that quickly turns into the downward spiral. But I don't know if the rest of the country or other cities seen it the way that we seen it or not. But I mean, I think that little tidbit's kind of important for context, because like it's really crazy that when the fentanyl that you hear about today, that started when we were younger. That
yeah.
we were the first ones to see it.
And no one knew. Like right now, people hear fentanyl and they say, "Oh, it's killing people. It's so bad. It's all this." Like we never got that warning. we never got that explanation of what it was. Like,
Nope.
we learned through trial and error. Like, nobody, it was just a common thing in our neighborhood. I mean, literally, if you think about our neighborhood, how many people we lost and how many people were strung out as we grew up. I
Yep.
mean, when I say 90% of our neighborhood, of like our demographic of kids, was strung out. Like, that's wild to think. In Lawrenceville back in the days, not like it is now. Like, there was kids everywhere. I mean, there was 15 kids lived on each street. Like, to say 90% of them people were strung out is super wild, because and half of them were strung out, or most of them were strung out, because nobody knew what we were getting into. It was just,
Teenagers,
yeah, like
like
making dumb.
early teens, 13, 14, 15, 16. Like
Yep.
that's the age that we're talking about. Like it's really hard to wrap your head around what that is. Like, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I mean, when you think about it, that is fucking insane. Like how many people and how young they were and had no idea about the Russian roulette that they were playing.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. And here's the thing: nobody knew they were playing Russian roulette, and nobody knew how many bullets were in that gun. That's even wilder. But then there was a certain point that it came to. Everybody knew they were playing it. This is how bad it gets and how fast. Everybody knew they were playing it, and nobody cared how many bullets were in that gun. Because either way, they were winning, whether it took them out or whether they kept going. Like, that's the deader. It's just wild how we live. How that was a normal. Looking back, and how that was a normal everyday life for us. Wake up.
For nothing, bro, but just the crime epidemic that came from that.
Oh man,
Everybody was boosting something.
everything.
Like that, I mean, I don't know what the statistics are like, but I mean, everybody had their own line of, you know, you're hustling, you're stealing, you're robbing. Like for a very long time when I was younger, we were boosting cars, and I didn't really get into anything hard until way later in life. But I was with everybody that did, and like that was that cars. I had a conversation with an older woman many years later, and she was a friend of mine, my aunt Judy, and Judy told me she had a conversation with her that when I was around, cars went missing. She was like, it was known that like it would just that was it. Like they did all well, three cars got stolen last night off the same block. Well, I think we kind of know who did that. Like, I mean, it's amazing with just that aspect of it too that I don't know that anybody actually thinks about, but the crime epidemic that shot through the roof during that time period had to be. I'd love to see the statistics, but had to be insane.
And that's the thing is too. Like, nobody cared if they. There, it became a point, and Jay, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, you've seen it too. Nobody cared if they lived or died. So they didn't really care what consequences were. They didn't care about going to jail. They didn't care about hurting someone else. Nobody cared. Nobody cared about their life. So they damn sure didn't give a shit about anybody else's life, how it's going to affect them. So it was like the Wild West in Lawrenceville for a while, for a long time. Like, you know, it's just, it's mind blowing that, like I keep saying, to look back at that, like that was normal, everyday life for us. Like, we didn't care. Gunfights, robbing drug dealers, getting robbed.
We
Like,
got somebody from the United Kingdom listening to you tell this story, just so you know.
uh,
Uh,
um,
so I well, just one more thing is um, I've told this in the past, and nobody will ever truly understand this, and it probably sounds like hubris to some other people, or maybe even sound like bragging in some way, which I don't know because I've said it before, but like you don't really understand what it's like to be with somebody that does not care. People use that terminology. They'll say, I don't care about that. No, no, no. You see, you care, right? But like when somebody doesn't care, you're going to know it right away. And that's sort of where I know myself for sure. And I know a lot of other people, it was like, they just didn't care about what happened next. Like literally, like they didn't care about what happened next. Like I'm doing this because that's what I want to do right now, and I don't care about what happens next, and I don't care who it hurts, and I don't care. So like I try to explain that to people, and I don't think anybody actually understands what I'm trying to relay. But it's also worth saying that like there are still people out there today, which is I always try to tell people to be careful because like even that road rage shit and everything else, it's like you don't know who you're talking to, you don't know who you're running into. You're on a job site with people. I remember people they'll talk slick to you, like I mean, like yell at you, and I'm like, you don't know who you're talking to, dude. Like
Yeah.
the only thing stopping me from hitting you with this hammer is that I care now. But like if you would be saying this to me back in the day, you're gonna lose your teeth, dude. Like this is just what I'm trying to explain is that like it's also that where it's like you're in a community with a large amount of them that just seriously don't care about what happens next.
Or they're so illogical about things. Like they can't see outside of their perspective, and that's it. Like you talked about the road rage thing. Like you don't know what that dude's going through that day. He might have lost his whole family. He might have went bankrupt. He might have went, like you have no idea what that dude's going through. That's a scary place to live in, especially with these days, and not even getting anything like political or anything, but people, once they get so locked into their own belief, it makes them so dangerous because they're not open minded anymore, not open to learning anything, not open into a different perspective to look at. I try to look at people's lives today and what it from my fiance, it's always look at it from their perspective. And that's something I can never do my whole life because I was so self centered most of my life, So, and you try to look at things from different, but like you have no idea what that other person is going through today. And then sometimes it's like, even if you look at us and how we lived, like we didn't care to a point, like we didn't care who we hurt, what we did. And when I say who we hurt, like I hurt my mother, my father, the closest loved ones. I always say, being strung out, my closest loved ones were my easy target because I could play on their emotions, and I knew that. So they, not nothing physical or anything, but stealing and lying and scamming and scheming and all that, they were the first target because I would play off their love. I know they cared about me. I know they loved me. I know they would try to help me. That mom, I need this for this, whatever, prize or whatever. But like these days, you have no idea what people are going through. So to scream into the car, or I say this to my friends all the time, I'm like, you're rushing up on that car, like, and don't get me wrong. There's times I'm even in a car today, and I'm like, I should just slam the brakes on. Shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but
Yeah.
then it's
Yeah.
like, then what? Then they hit into me. We're fighting. He might shoot me. My insurance premiums are going up across all my vehicles. Like, it's not even fucking worth it anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just gonna
To
drive
take
home to my life.
I don't want to derail this, but I think bringing up the shooting might be a good. Let's try to pry this story in here for Drew. Uh, Drew had a gun pulled on him inadvertently in his neighborhood for no real good reason. You think that kid probably gave a fuck at all? I'd say no. Drew,
No,
why don't you try if you can, maybe a shortened version, but tell us what happened real quick because I definitely want people to hear this.
yeah. Sadly, not the first time that I've been in a situation like that. I was basically minding my business, sweeping up the sidewalk, and I had my left side of my shoulder to the street side, across from a big avenue, 8 lanes of traffic, plenty of people. A little bit later in the evening, so not a ton of people outside. And all of a sudden, I see like this green light shoot across my face and like kind of catch me on the side of the face, and like caught my attention. And I look to my left, and there's a white four-door Nissan Altima, Maxima, whatever it was, in case that piece of shit coward's actually watching this, which I doubt. And I look over, and obviously the light, the laser on the mounted to the bottom of his pistol, is quick to draw your eye to it. And I look down, and I could see the barrel, I could see the crown of the muzzle. It's about 8 to 10 feet away, and the inside of the car, the driver I couldn't see. It was really blacked out. The passenger kind of like leaned forward once he saw that I took notice of it, and he kind of had the hood, the hat low. I kind of saw like half of his eyes down. He was grinning like if he was just having a good time fucking with me, to see if I was going to run away, if I was going to get scared, or like just to see my reaction, being a punk clown about it. And I just kind of stood there for 2 seconds, looked at him, lifted my head up. He looked at me. He started laughing, giggling. The light had turned green, and the driver started rolling away. And I just put my finger up like this and just followed him with it like that. But yeah, he had the gun pretty much right over the window that was rolled down. That was pretty much far enough out of the car where it was pretty obvious to see. And it was just, to me, it was just two asshole guys driving around, nothing to do, bored, and said, "Oh, let me be a tough guy and fuck with this guy and point the gun at him and try to scare somebody." But I'm not one to be scared by that. I've been shot at, actual rounds flying past my head, so somebody pointing a gun at me isn't too frightening. But yeah, so then as I gave him the finger and I kind of looked and I was like, he was a half a block away, and it ruffled my feathers and I was getting really fucking mad. And then I went back inside the building and I thought to myself, what I wouldn't have thought about years ago was, oh, what if he comes back around and this time he actually does open fire on me? Years ago, I probably would have ran to my car, got in my car, tried to follow him, and it would have been some shit. He would have had to fire it. But again, that's a way many years back.
But, I mean, again, this is the people in those age groups that don't give a shit, right? Like, so like that's, I mean, and plus the other thing is a laser on a pistol. I'm going to tell you, that's not the wisest thing in the world unless you know what you're doing. Because, and I have to put this in here because it's like gun nerd shit, but like, you sight in a pistol with a laser, it's only good for the distance that you sighted it in. Now, if you don't know your holdover, let's say you sight it in for 5 yards, and you know that dot's on at 5 yards. Anything closer and anything further than that dot's going to be off depending on the distance. So, like, you get further away, it's going to be lower. No, I'm sorry, higher. And the closer you get, the lower it's going to be. But I'm telling you that these kids don't know that either. So like you see this dot on you, they don't know what they're doing. That's number one. And also, this is a funny comment. Shout out to Nissan for being the only company that finances Blatz. So we can all instantly know who is driving that Altima.
You want to laugh, Stacks, what you were just saying about the sighting. I actually was thinking about that. I was like, all right, he muzzle sweeped my head. Now, assuming that it was zeroed at 10 yards, was he aiming at my jaw? Was he aiming at my temple? I was kind of like doing the math because that's how like fucking furious it got me. And I was like, this motherfucker muzzle sweep me. He has no fucking idea. Oh God, yeah. So that was
this is the derailed, and let's try to get it back, Joe.
The younger generation's the most dangerous right now. Like it honestly is, because it's the shit they do without thinking. Without. I mean, look at what we did when we were younger. It's continual. Now it's just a lot more guns, and people will do shit like. I watch them prank videos on YouTube once in a while through the scrolling and all that, and I'm like, it's unbelievable that dude didn't get killed. Like, some of the shit that people do and think it's okay just for, the name and the fame is like pretty wild these days. Like, somebody, you just think it's like dangerous as hell. Like, they're doing it because it's cool. It's the cool thing to do. Like, I don't know how old the dudes were in the car that did that to you, but like they're taking it as that was funny. Like, they don't know what if you had a pistol, pulled it out, and let rounds off. You know what I mean? Like,
we're in New York over here, so generally speaking, only the villains are armed.
Mm-hmm.
Cops, like normal, decent, upstanding citizens, are not allowed to be armed. That's why they, I guess, feel more entitled to do that kind of shit here.
Or more safe to do, yeah.
Yeah, they know, they might look at me like, all right, I'm not a gang member, so I'm probably not going to pull on them. But yeah, like what's going on with the younger generation that you said in New York and the Bronx particularly, I see 14, 15-year-old kids who are related, their mom's sister's son, like their blood cousins, and they fight and they're shooting bullets at each other over whose block you came on that you're with a different set. Like when I was young, there was stabbing, shootings, beatings, but it was generally over money. You did something you shouldn't have did to somebody you shouldn't have did it to, or like a woman. But just to do it because of a clout of like, well, my gang is cooler than your gang at 14, 15, 16 years old. It's definitely at an all-time different level. So I,
So that said, there's a reason why they send young men to war because they're reckless. They can, look, you can get drafted at 17 and 18, but you can't drink a beer until you're 21. There's a reason why young men go to war. They're the first ones brought in. It's because generally they don't, they're kind of reckless in that way.
that's caution.
Um,
Yeah.
that said, too, dude, like they're trying to push these wars, bro. My kids are still too young right now, but if I had a draftable aged kid, I'd be a little bit nervous that because they've already been whispering about it, and I don't. I would just be like, no, it's not happening. Like, you do what you got to do. Like, my kid's not going to the Middle East or South America or Greenland or wherever it is that you're trying to go to next. It's not happening. But I mean, that's just a whole other topic. I don't want to get too far off.
We go on forever. About
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Joe, you were running the streets for a while. You were making some moves. Maybe we could fast forward it a bit. What would you say as far as street life was like when you thought maybe you peaked before shit hit the fan? Like what were you doing?
Um, like when I thought I made it, when I was living good, or
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
here's
Like,
the here's
you feel like a kingpin now or something,
here's
right?
the here's the wild part. And this is like why I said in the beginning, I lived a couple lives. I lived a life completely strung out, wanting to die every day. I got I got clean. Um, I got Pomeranians now. I went from pit bulls to Pomeranians. Um, and I went from strung out, got clean, and then I figured I can hustle now because I'm not getting high, right? That's the mentality. Because what else am I going to do? I mean, honestly, I don't really know. Like what else am I going to do? So around, I was strung out 15 to 23, got clean at 23. And when I say strung out, I mean like literally hundreds of rehabs and detoxes and all that. Like, I mean, literally. I got clean at 23. I'm like, well, I could probably sell a little bit of coke. I never really did coke too much. I never really wasn't my thing. I could probably sell it. You hear the term monkey trying to sell bananas. I was the exception to that rule for a while. Um, I started off selling little bits of coke and gram hair, thinner hair, quarter gram hair, or quarter ounce hair, or whatever. Then it got to the point of I had a solid connect. I have people moving it now. Um, I was out of control. I mean, total. I don't even know how to explain it. I went completely out of control. I didn't. I felt when I was at the peak of it. Just to give you uh, a scope of so you can gauge where I was at. I remember I saved $100 bills for 1 month, and I saved $52,000. Now, make no mistake about it. I knew nothing to do with that money except buy jewelry, buy chains, buy clothes. I had 4 sets of rims for one car for some
Yeah,
reason.
invest. I never heard that word before. What does that mean?
I remember I said my aunt's a real estate agent, and I remember I said to her one time, "I want to buy a house." And she said, "Okay." And she said, "How much?" And I said, "I don't know, 100 grand." That was back. I mean, we're talking,
A lot more money.
yeah, 2000, probably 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. And I said, "I want to buy a house." And she goes, "Okay." She said, "All right." And I said, "I'll bring you over 100 grand in a book bag. Just pick a house that's good for me so I can like basically invest," but I didn't know what I was doing. Right.
Book
I'll get
bag.
into why my circle's so important these days. But she said, "Are you crazy?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "You can't just buy a house with $100,000 in a book bag." And I'm like, "Why not?" They're like, "Somebody's going to want to know where that money comes from. Can you explain it?" And I'm like, "Nope."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, you can't do that." So another time I went to buy a car, it was like, I'll go back. When I got clean, I became in the electrical union. I became a first year apprentice. At the same time, I was hustling. I was a first year apprentice now with a $60,000 Lexus. And that's when cars were like $30,000, $40,000 at the max. Like, expensive cars were like 50, 60 back in. I had a $60,000 Lexus driving to my first year apprenticeship class or second year apprenticeship class. I would be on.
Context, you make like $8 an hour at that point.
I
So
think it
like
was $9. Yeah, I think it was $9.27 you make. I remember being on a job with like 40 guys, and I would say, I'll buy lunch today. And they're just some of my foremen in that, like, it's inevitable. They knew what I was doing. And my one foreman, I'll never forget, they never judged me. And I'll give them that. Like, I have really good guys teaching me. They still wanted me to learn. They still taught me. And he looked at me and goes, "You'll buy everybody lunch." And he goes, "Good week." I said, "Great week." And he knew exactly what that meant. You know what I mean? Like, and they would just like, they were really good to me. They would take care of me and teach me stuff and all that. So I was learning throughout all this because back to what we were originally talking about, I knew there was an end to it. Sooner or later, this end was going to come. Whether it was I go to jail, whether I was dead, realistically, I knew I wasn't walking away from making thousands of dollars a month. And I literally, when I say I worked 2 hours a week, I worked outside of my real job, like hustling. I might have had to do something for 2 hours a week, and I would make $9,000 that week. It was too easy to just walk away from. I never would walk away from it.
For anyone that doesn't know, is that there was that much going on. So yeah,
it was constant. Like, 60 ounces a week were going out, which is 2 kilos. Which I wasn't like moving planes or boatloads or any of that. But I was doing okay. So I thought, like I thought I was doing okay in life. Like, this is it. Because back again, I'm looking at people my age. I have way more than them, but what I didn't know is I had the feds following me.
I was just going to say, you do well enough to catch the wrong attention.
I remember I got pulled over in the Strip District. And to give people the context of that, the Strip District is like a main street that runs into the downtown city of Pittsburgh. And it's like a bunch of restaurants and bars and stores and shopping. I got pulled over in the Strip District, and the dude looked at me and said, "Get out the car." This is how blatant I was with it. Right? The dude looked at me and said, "Get out the car, drug dealer." And I'm like, "What? Me?" Like, when he pulled me over, I had the fur coat on that the dude has in American Gangster. I had that coat on, right? With a 20-carat diamond chain on, right? And I'm like, "What are you talking about? How do you?" Yeah, I ain't a drug dealer, like, and the dude's just looking at me like I'm talking, French. Like, just get out the car. So anyway, got out the car, blah blah blah. But it's so hard to. There's no way I was walking through it. So to fast forward the story, I made a lot of money for a while. I spent. This is how I would justify bad money. Do you know how many people's cable bills I paid? Hot water tanks I bought, furnaces I bought. I would try to justify it because deep down, at the end of the day, I knew I was wrong. I was contributing to somebody else's pain. But I would justify, like, these are all working guys and they got good jobs. They're not strung out. They're not, selling their everything to get another, bumper coat, So I would justify. They're professionals. I was selling to corporate people. Like, it was just a wild mix of people. But at the end of the day, I knew it was wrong. Like, I knew it wasn't, it just didn't sit right in me, especially coming from my background and where I came from and the things I had to go through to get clean. I just knew, like, contributing to it.
So you were trying to give back as a way to make an amends for what you knew you were doing.
Yeah, like, I was trying to make, I say this all the time, I was trying to make bad money good.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like, and it would make me feel good for a little bit, but then, like, it just didn't work. You know what I mean?
All right, so, all right. You got something. I was just going to say, if you want. So, and inevitably, what always happens is somebody tells. Right.
Somebody tells. Where it got to is I went from little to bigger. I hand my brother a phone. I say, answer this phone. I'll give you everything you need. I'll supply you with everything you need. Answer this phone. You'll make $5, 6, $7,000 a week. Okay. All you got to do is answer this phone. Everybody's cool on there. I trusted everybody. Just answer the phone. Well, he got into the game. He was hanging around a couple of people that were. I had this thing in my head. I don't want to hang around anybody that's selling heroin. Right. I don't want
Yeah.
anybody around me that's selling heroin because I know people on heroin will do anything. It doesn't matter, right?
Yep.
Whether it's rob you, set you up, whatever, they'll do anything. So I had this weird thing of I don't want anybody around me that's strung out. One, for I don't want to get high again. Two, for I don't want you to crash the business or get me injured. He was hanging around people who were doing that already had attention, I think. 5 in the morning, a joint task force. Me and my brother lived next door to each other, literally next door. 5 in the morning, a joint task force. It was feds, DEA, local narcotics, ATF, one other ABC, kicked the door in. And I remember hearing that when they kicked it in. This is where I was at, even with the money I was making and all that. It was like a sign of relief. I'm done. I'm out. Like, that's it.
The choice was taken from you.
Yeah, because I could never make it on my own. It's like I said, who can walk away from, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars a week and just say, I don't want it anymore. Like it's, anybody in their right mind, but when I heard that, uh, I think I screamed DEA at first or whatever it was. I just remember laying in my bed. I opened my eyes and I just thought, it's finally over. Like it's finally done. 'Cause I mean, I wanted to get out of it, but like I said, I couldn't walk away from it. But they did come in, cuff me. I had somebody staying with me. They found less than an ounce, right? It was in a coat pocket in a hallway. I had my buddy living with me because he needed a place to live. Found it in a coat pocket in a hallway. But he took me outside, took me next door and said, look what you're doing to your family. It was my dad, my mom, because my brother lived with my mom and dad. And they're like, don't you feel bad? You're a piece of shit for this, blah, blah, why don't you just talk? Blah, blah, blah. Just tell us. And I looked at my brother and I said, tell him your name and social security number if they ask for it. And don't say another word. I'll have us out in 4 hours. They take me back over my house because they were kind of pissed. They thought they were going to show me my family and it was going to be like, oh, heart wrenching and all that. And and I just told them, shut up, just tell them your name and what that information, and I'll have us out. Needless to say, I got out on bond. I bonded him out. I bonded my buddy out. I bonded out, and it kind of stopped me from doing what I was doing. Like I wasn't. I guess I was too scared. Because you hear people come out of jail and go right back to hustling and get booked again. And I just didn't want that life. At the end of the day, like I knew I didn't want that life. I got a good union job now. I'm a 4th, 5th year apprentice by the time this happened. Like I'm making good money. I didn't need to do it. I didn't need all the extra shit. I didn't need diamond chains. I didn't need crazy watches. I didn't need 3 or 4 sets of
Coats.
rims for
You
one
don't need
car.
fur coats. No one needs a fur
I
coat.
don't need fur coat. I never needed a fur coat, ever. But that was the thing. It was just like I didn't know what else to spend money on. Like I didn't, I didn't know how to invest. I didn't, I didn't learn that yet in life. So it was just like, finally over. Long story short, we get to court. The DA goes, "You telling?" I said, "No, I ain't telling." So he goes, "All right." He said, "Well, let me put it to you this way." He said, "I can't beat your case because it was found in a common area. He couldn't prove if it was mine or the other guy's." He said, "I can't. I'll tell you right now, I can't beat your case." He said, "But if you don't take a plea deal, I'm giving your brother 5 to 10 years." He got caught with it. Like he got caught red-handed. It was with him. And I said, "So what are you saying?" He said, "Take the 2 to 4 years. I'll give your brother 2 to 4 years." And, so I said, all right. I mean, it's my brother. I'm not going to let him go to jail for 5 to 10 years. Like, so,
So
but
you
all right.
both did a 2 to 4. You both got sentenced to a 2 to 4 on a plea bargain. Is that what I heard?
It was 2 to 4 on a plea bargain with boot camp. Here's the wild part about it. He had a pending case for a fight and aggravated assault before that. But
No, not your brother. No.
yeah. So he so he was a little bit behind. So when they took me, they take you from the court. They say when they say you have 2 weeks to turn yourself in. I still was I didn't become a saint. I still was wild. They say you have 2 weeks to turn yourself in. Here's the crazy part. I don't drink or get high. I threw a party for 2 weeks every day straight. Like
Yeah.
it's so wild because I don't even, like I have videos that I still at this point wouldn't not walk around with a pistol because people just knew what I was doing because I never hit it. Like I never cared. I thought I was invincible. Nobody could touch me, blah, 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 which is stupid looking back. But I threw a party for 2 weeks. We turned ourselves in. He was a little bit behind me because he had to keep doing something with his other case. So I get up to Camp Hill, which is the classification. I'm all dug in. I'm like, all right, I'm here for, whatever, 6 months till I go to boot camp, blah, blah, blah. They say, Skundrich, back up. I'm like, what? They're like, you're moving to I block. And I'm like, I have a super cool celly. I have all the commissary. Like, I'm dug in, right? I'm set up, ready to do this time. Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to move. They're like, we're not asking you. And if any Camp Hill, they just talk crazy to you. Like, quick side story. I remember the one dude said something to the mail lady, and the lieutenant come in and said, I'm going to hit you with the poof spray. And dude was like, the what? He said, I'm going to hit you with the poof spray. Nobody's going to know where you went. Like, they ain't going to see you for months. You're not going to eat. And nobody's going to know where you went. Basically saying, like, we're just going to throw you in a hole and not feed you and not do anything. Poof, you're gone. You know what I mean? Like, nobody knows where you are. So I get moved over. They're like, move over this block. So I go over and go to the bubble. You hand them a slip. They're like, cell, whatever cell it was. I walk up to the door, and who it is? My brother, right? So I'm like, this is pretty wild. So it's basically like at our house, pretty much, because he lived with me a lot of his life too. So me and him were in a cell together, so it was like a wild run through that. In boot camp, they would PT, which is physical training, they would PT the shit out of you. Anytime my brother would do something, they would say J-type. They would call him A-type and J-type because we're brothers, same last name, so they couldn't use the last name. So go J-type post. And I'd go up and he'd like, give me 800 push-ups.
Second. Wait 1 second. I just got it because I don't remember if I've ever asked you this, but your brother made it through boot camp? Like he made it all the way through? They didn't boot him?
Nah, he made it all the way through.
Holy shit. Okay.
And
right.
you know him. He's a hothead, and
yes.
But I mean, dude, you had the thing about boot camp. So all the listeners know is you go in there for 6 months. Now you have a 2 to 4 year sentence. They give you a requisite of boot camp. So boot camp, you go to boot camp for 6 months. You're guaranteed parole. So that means you go to Camp Hill. You wait for the platoon to start. They put you in it. Once they put you in it, 6 months, you're home, right? There was dudes fighting in there with like 5.5 months in, and they were about to go home in 2 weeks. I'm like, what could you possibly be fighting about in this when you're 2 weeks away from going home? It was mind blowing to me. Like I couldn't understand like what the thought process was on that. And I remember being in there, you're in there with everybody was a kingpin. Everybody sold drugs. Everybody had all these cars and all. And there's just me. I'm just quiet. Like I don't tell nobody what I got caught with drugs. That's all they need to know. Like I don't talk about what I had. And all these young dudes, I had this. I was driving this car. I had that. Blah blah blah. And I remember the one old dude. I was one of the oldest in there. I think I was 30 at the time or somewhere around there. Me and this other dude. I'll never forget. This dude Clark. He looks at me and we're listening to all these people talk down the thing and them telling like what they had and what they did and all this. And he looks at me and goes, somebody had to do the drugs. And I was like, yep. And he was talking about all them because you could tell they come in like from getting high and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like petty thefts and misdemeanor and retailers and shit like that. Like you could tell they come in. But I remember him saying to me, somebody had to do them all. Not everybody could sell them. You know what I mean? Like, and it was just like a wild thing in jail, like about everybody. Yeah, back at that time, it was like Hummers and this and that, and 24-inch wheels just came out, so it was like everyone had 24s and Escalades and all this shit, and it was like, it's unbelievable in jail, like what you hear place.
Yeah.
But
Wait. So let me just try. You both only had to do the 6 months from boot camp, and then you can get released, or is it like halfway house after that, or what?
it
What? How does that work?
it's the you get to 6 months, and then you go to a halfway house till your home plan gets approved, which means you have a stable environment to go to, right? Um,
Yeah.
so basically, our whole process from intake, from when we turned ourselves in to we got out of the halfway house was like 13, 14 months out of a 2 to 4 year sentence. So you're not really complaining about it. Like,
You're right.
granted, it sucks. You got to go live in a halfway house with a bunch of grown ass men. Half of them don't shower. Like half of them don't even care if they're out of jail. Half of them want to go back to jail, like, because they're not used to living outside. Like, so you're in this crazy house of like all these
Wait.
people and
What do you mean?
personalities.
What do you mean outside? What are you in a tent while you're in boot camp?
No, we're in boot camp, but
He's
you're
outside of
in,
jail. Yeah.
yeah, outside of
Well,
jail.
outside the walls. Oh,
Yeah,
okay, I got you. Yeah, yeah.
there's people that get out and can't. They've been in so long, or they've been back and forth.
They
They
call
might,
it institutionalized.
yeah, they can't like deal with. I mean, think about it. I mean, we know a dude, little Jay. Like that dude's been gone 30 years, 25 years. He's going to come out like when he went in, there was no cell phones.
Nope.
He's coming out to AI and shit now. Like that's a huge adjustment in everyday life. Like
I don't. I'm glad you brought that up because that could have been any one of us. Like that could
at
have easily.
any point.
Because I mean, he did do something fucked up, but he just did it like I. Listen, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to admit to anything, but let's just say that like I know of a lot of people that did something exactly similar to what they booked him for, which was just basically breaking into a house. But he broke into the wrong house and then really fucked up. I just, you're right, man, and that's crazy because that could have easily been anybody.
And he gave up 25. I think it's 25 now. 25 years of his life for that.
It's
Like
not out yet.
no, I don't think. I asked Brian about him a couple of times, and no one ever heard nothing. Like, I mean, that's a wild sentence. He didn't even kill nobody, right? Not
Oh,
not that anything's good, but like somebody that gets these numbers, usually it's attached with murder, manslaughter, or something like that. Like
Great
he didn't
amount
do
of
nothing
physical
like
violence.
that. Like
me if I'm wrong. I'm going to say too much. Just correct me if I'm wrong. But from what I understand, happened to him is that he broke into like the DA's assistant's house or something, and got caught. I could or a
it was it was
judge.
it was something in one of them small towns where he did something in one of them small towns, which I mean was, I don't want to say typical around our neighborhood, but it wasn't like unheard of. Um, he just did it in the wrong town with one of them judges that set an example of them. You're not going to come to our town to do this. Like this is what happens.
Yeah,
We'll put you under the jail. We don't care.
yeah. Well,
And
I,
it's wild.
I
That same dude, and this is the crazy part. That same dude used to look at me and say, "Why do you do like?" I mean, we were strung out. We couldn't stop if we wanted to. You know what I mean? Like he would look at me and say, "Why do you do that shit? You're ruining your life. Are you crazy? You need to quit doing that." Blah, blah, and give me these things of it. And now that dude, this is how now I'm fortunate. That dude serving, I think he got 25 to 40 or some crazy number, like some
yeah,
ridiculous number. But that's
yeah.
the same dude he's saying to me, "What is wrong with you? You got to stop, bro. You can't do that." Like that's why.
Did he have any priors that you know of, like serious ones, or he just
And
had the
shit.
worst attorney on the planet?
I,
How do you get
I
murder numbers for breaking and entry with no criminal history?
nobody can nobody He had a criminal history. I'll tell you this. He did have a criminal history, but it wasn't like nothing crazy. Um, he was doing he did something, pulled a fake gun out on somebody, or somebody seen him walking with a fake gun. I don't know the story on that one. I don't, but he got sentenced 11 and a half to 23 months in the county. But he would get out on house arrest and run. He would get out again and run. So he did 11 and a half, 23-month sentence for 5 or 6 years. They kept, sending back. Here, I was in a renewal center with him when I went to jail the one time, and I said to him, Jay, all you have to do is do the week for blackout, which means you can't go nowhere and make any calls. Do that week. I'll have you out from 6 in the morning till 10 at night. Just follow my schedule. Like, I went to work, I went to meetings, like I did all the stuff I was supposed to do, and they didn't really fuck with you if you did what you're supposed to do. You're not doing any slime ball shit. Like, okay, you're going to work, being productive, you're going to a meeting, staying clean. I said you can have that same thing. Like, just stay a week. He made it 3 days, and he looks at me and goes, "I'm leaving." And I'm like, "What?" You know, this is right before he caught that case, dude. His was the last placement he's in. I said, "Bro, just stay here. It's easy. You're never gonna really be here." He goes, "I can't. I gotta go." And I'm like, "All right." And he took off out the back door and then went and caught that case like months later or a year later or whatever.
It's
So he turned
crazy.
to
Well, let's try to, because we're coming up on just past an hour now. So let's try to bump this up just a little bit further. Is there anything between what we were just talking about and what, like the transition period to where, like, what you're into now that you want to touch on before we get to that?
I mean, not really. Like, I always was a hard worker. So whatever I did it to the best I could. Um, whether it's I heard a saying the one time. It was like, if you're flipping burgers, burger flipper you can be. If you're cleaning floors, clean the floors the best you can. Like, just do the best. So I always stayed like work. I was always a really good worker, hard worker, or whatever. Um, the transition, after all that, like, kind of like settled down. I kind of let go of them dreams of I'm gonna be like, Scarface, I guess you could say. I mean, like, I'm not gonna make it being a drug dealer. Um, it's not for me. I mean, like, I don't want to go back to jail again. It sucks. Like, I don't want to. I had a son at the time who he's 17 now. I think he was 1, and he would have to come visit me in the penitentiary. Like, I don't want them to ever have to do that again. Like, I don't ever want them to see that side of it. But the other side is I don't hide it from them. I want them to be well informed going through life of possibilities of life if you take certain roads. If you make certain decisions, I want you to be aware certain consequences can come with them decisions. I don't wrap my kids in a bubble. I let them make their own decisions. I have a 13-year-old daughter too. I let them pick their bedtimes because guess what? You're going to have to get up tomorrow and you're going to hate life because you're tired as hell and have to go to school. Then you're going to have to make a decision to go to bed earlier the next night. Stuff like that. So I just didn't want them to see that part of life. You want me to fast forward to life today?
I mean, just in the interest of time, but I mean, that's why I'm saying if there's anything you want to add, feel free to add it. But again, this whole thing was about how much doomer shit I continue to see from younger people,
Uh,
and the perspective being that, like, the scenarios aren't that different as far as if whether you're 20, 21, and trying to go out on your own, or 30, 31, and you're basically starting off in the same spot because you've been, you know, you've held yourself back for so long that, like, you're basically starting on the same foot, and that it's possible. Because when you're the 20, 21-year-old today, the restrictions of, like, you having a criminal jacket and, like, not being able to go do certain things, and maybe you have a um people know who you are, like, like, they know what you did, they know who you are. That kind of stuff will hold you back. And I just see it a lot now where people think that it's insurmountable for them to be able to succeed today. And I thought it might be important because this is a show we don't typically do. Where we do a lot of like different conspiracy and talking shit and screaming racial slurs into the microphone. So we try to um, I want to try to just at least put it out there because on top of everything else, you should get a pat on the back for just being able to do it because this is also, for whatever it's worth, not something that can be easily done from that starting point. So, um, yeah, why don't you just, I mean, because like you own a business now and it's doing really well and you got kids and a house. And so like what just go ahead and like, whatever part of that you want to tell, just go ahead and tell it because I think that the outcome of where you are now is the selling point for saying that nothing is doomed.
It's really not. Like, statistically, most people don't become successful till in their 40s, late 40s, statistically, right? So everybody is in this rush. Oh, I gotta be here. I gotta be married by this. I gotta have a house by this. I gotta pay. Nobody sets the timeline. Like, no, there's no timelines to this shit. You don't have to be anywhere at any point. Like, I just look at it as you try to do a little better every day, a little better than you did yesterday. Try to be a better person. Try to, be a better worker, be a better business owner, be a better employer, whatever it is. Just try to be a little bit better today or tomorrow than you were today. Like, there's no like magic success, secret thing. Like, one thing that is super important, and I'm very grateful in my life, is my team, the people I surround myself with on a daily basis. Because those are the people, when you're fucked up, they'll pick you up. When you think it's so bad, they'll tell you it's not. They'll show you. They changed my whole. And here's the crazy part. Even some people I had a really big falling out over, and it just became a total shit show, their relationship.
It show.
Yeah, I'm still grateful them people are in my life because I learned something from it. Even though they fucked me over in the end, because the business world, make no mistake about it, the streets have nothing on the business world. There's way more grimy people when it comes to business than there is in the streets, which is like, I know both sides of it. I can accurately say that the business world is a fucking disaster with the trust. When you're trying to trust somebody. I'm in essence, I'm a pretty trusting person. So I try to like go through all the trust issues I had all my life, and I try to let that go. So I tend to trust people a little more these days until they show me I can't trust. Um, the team I surround myself with and the people I surround myself with. That's part of why the youth are so fucked up. Is they surround themselves with the same mentality they have, which keeps them stuck in that same fucking mentality, right? Nobody's growing. You always hear, if you're the wellest one in your group, get a new fucking group. And there's a reason for that. You're stopping learning, you're stopping progressing in life, you're stopping everything. You're just stuck there, which happens a lot with kids these days, younger kids. Their friends are all doing it. They're in this small circle of people, and that's it. That's all they know. All they know, like you said, the dudes shooting each other, like that's all they know. Like, because no one else has shown them anything different, right? As a business owner, I try to take people and show them there's more to life than that shit. Um, Sometimes it works out, sometimes it don't. Um, but today, of like, my biggest thing is I don't want to be the one that knows all the answers. Um, I don't want to be the one that has all the answers. I don't need to be that. Like, there's another crazy part. I work with my fiance every day. Right? Okay, he's 33. I'm 47. We're in a male
Does she
dominated.
want to say hi? Is she still there? She want to say hi?
Brett, Brett.
Don't worry about it if she's not.
No, she's there. Her McKenna looking over there.
Hi.
Say hi to everybody out on Rumble and YouTube.
Here, here's a huge thing we were just talking about. Here's a huge thing. Like, okay, just for instance, when I say surrounding myself with people, she's one of them people, right? I don't got to worry about what she's doing when I'm not home, what she's doing when she goes out somewhere. I trust her. I can focus on what I need to. I've been on jobs where dudes, and I've been one of them dudes, you're arguing with your girl all day long on the phone, nothing gets accomplished because it's just arguing all day. Um, same dude, same hustle, same ambition. The biggest difference in my life today is her. And that sounds crazy because most people won't like acknowledge like how important their other half is. Like, and I say this all the time, I'm who I am because of her. Like, she'll keep me focused. We don't 10 years we've been together. We don't argue at all because we come to the conclusion, even when we disagree or get mad, we're not going to say some shit that's going to can't be unheard, some shit that can't be unsaid, some shit that can't be forgotten. All right. So when I say surround yourself with the people, back to the thing, 47, 33, we're in a construction industry. I've been doing this shit my whole life, right? I've been in construction my whole life. When I say we're going to do it this way, and I look over at her, because she's in the construction industry too, and she goes, I think we should do it this way. And I have to be humble enough to say, you're right. Like, a lot of men can't do that, right? But that keeps me open to learning new shit. Teacher doesn't matter. The message matters, who it comes from, right? So fast forward to where we are today. I surrounded myself with people that have the same goals. We bounce ideas off each other. I surrounded myself. I surrounded myself with people that are further than I am in life or where I want to be, so I can learn to get to where they're at through listening to them. Basically, it comes down to I could sit down, shut the fuck up, and listen to some things, and I get further in life every time. And not that like we're rich and have all this shit, because being a business owner, there's two periods of your life. You're either stressed you have too much work or stressed you don't have enough. So the stress is always there, no matter what, right? But I have a little bit more freedom now. Doesn't mean I don't work more. That just means I have the freedom to say, I'm going away this weekend, or I'm going away Tuesday to Thursday, and I don't have to call off at my job, right? But the shit that comes with that, like, and here, this didn't start till we started one of the companies. I come home, and she said, I'm starting a company. I said, I don't really want to do that. All right. I come home like a month later. She goes, well, I started the company. And I'm like, huh? Great. Okay. No, I wasn't. I'm like, I didn't really want to do it. That was like 9 years ago now. And life has been like a crazy roller coaster. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't always great. It's not always great. There's the days. But at the end of the day, I'm living somebody else's fucking dream, to be honest with you.
Fuck
Like,
yeah.
I remember sleeping on a park bench. I remember begging my mom to come in to get a shower because I was freezing and been out in the cold for 3 days, right? I live in a fucking cul-de-sac now with a driveway and a garage I could fucking tinker in. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what the fuck I do in my garage, but I could tinker in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like such a wild ride. Like, it's such a wild life. But it all comes back from hard work, surrounding myself with the people that I either want to be like or have my best interest at heart, and just listening and not thinking I know fucking everything. I was always told the most dangerous person in the room is the dude that thinks he knows fucking everything because he'll
Yeah.
never learn. He'll never learn again. You know, and you run into people every day like that. Like, but it's like super wild. Like, we do investments now. Like, I own properties. Like, I never. we have a house we Airbnb, and we just bought this house. We do it real wild. Like, I own my old house. I wanted Britt to own this. Here's the other thing. Like, Britt can walk away at any moment, and he's worth more to me, right? That's how much trust I put into her, right? That's how much I trust her. Like, she has all the chips, and it's designed that way for when I'm gone. Because and I don't know if you're familiar with this. Something happened at 40 where everything changed, right? My whole life
Yep.
changed around 40. And I can never figure out what it was, right? I can never put a pinpoint on it of why certain shit wasn't really important anymore. Other shit is more important than it ever was before. And I used to go back and forth like, why is it, what changed? Why did it change? Blah, blah, blah. And it changed because I realized I have more days behind me than I do in front of me, you know, and that's what it all comes down to. So everything I do now is to make sure, and it sounds morbid, but it's just reality. I just buried my dad on Thanksgiving. She buried her mom a month before that. So we've been dealing with a
Holy
lot of
shit.
shit. Like, yeah, like it's
Wow.
been a wild couple months. Like her mom was 53, died suddenly. My dad was 75, but he went in for surgery and just never recovered fully. So we've been dealing with a lot of shit back and forth these last couple months of losses and stuff like that. Um, but it's just like it's such a fucking wild ride of where I want to make sure they're all good when I'm gone. You know what I mean? Like I want to make sure everything still runs. The companies are automated. You know, I have great people in places with the companies from employees. I have a group of employees in both companies and owners and a couple other companies that I trust with anything, that I would give anything to. I always said you can trust people if I can leave my money on the table and my girl in the room, and I can leave for a week and come back and know neither one of them were touched or tried to be touched. You know what I mean? Like that's how I judge people in my life. It sounds crazy, but coming up from how we grew up, like that money or female, you know, like it's always falling out of this. But now it's like we built these companies, and don't get me wrong, it's fucking work. Like we work 7 days a week sometimes. Sometimes we work till 10, 11 o'clock at night. It's not easy. But I'm I'm living a drug dealer's life legally.
Was gonna say that. Like you got there without doing without doing the illegal shit.
I got that's the crazy part about it. I got everything I ever wanted legally. Like that's why in the beginning I said I wish I would known at 20 or started at 20, you know, or 18 or 20 and started where I am now. Because I'm living that life I thought the only way to get was through hustling or through some illegal activities. Like it's not. Like there's so much more legal money out here if you take risks is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You know,
You
you
said something. You said, can you hear me?
yeah,
Okay. You said something about leaving it for your kids. I know like that is what I do for. Everything that I do is so that my kids can be left with something because I know what it's like to not have that. So, I mean, for whatever it's worth, that whole part of that is it's extremely commendable because nobody really thinks like that. Everybody is me, I. So, I mean, I can relate in that way. Like, you know, it's it's the thought that's past myself. Like what I'm doing and what I'm trying to build isn't quite to the scale that you have, but I'm going to do my own thing in my own little corner and try to leave something for my kids because I know what it's like. Again, I've said this before, but like, you know, when my parents die, I get a bill and,
yeah.
you know, I don't even talk to them. So
Believe me,
like,
I know all about it. Yeah,
yeah. So, I mean, I get it. I know like that's the goal. It's generational wealth is what that is called. And for the most part, since the boomers, that mindset has been lost. They don't have, that's not even a word like leaving, like I'll spend it all before I go. Like, you know, like that's a thing. Like how many times have you heard people say that?
yeah,
I'm not leaving you anything. I'm going to spend it all before I die. And fuck you is basically what they're saying to their kids. So like I get it. And it's, that is commendable. In my book, it's high scale commendable because you have to be a You have to be a certain kind of person to think like that in a world that doesn't allow you to think like that. So for whatever it's worth, that's a good thing too.
It
Um,
it's I mean, it's just like at the end of the day, like, okay, like the stuff thing. We go back to the stuff, like, and don't get me
Stuff.
wrong, I like stuff, right? I still do. Like, I don't. I have dumb purchases from time to time. Like, she knows more than I say. I'm going to buy this, and she'll just be like, okay. She's never once said no, don't, right? Because she knows what it is. You know, what I mean, like, I'm going to buy it and get tired of it and sell it, and I'll probably make a couple dollars on it, or lots of stupid purchases. Um, here's the thing: it's not. We don't have tons of money. We're not rich. We're comfortable. Like, but we use
That's all that
investments.
matters.
We use investments to pay for other investments. Like this house is being paid for by another investment. It's not like we have tons of money in the bank or any of that type of stuff. But the thing is, for even for anybody listening, like it's all doable. Like it's all within everybody's grasp. To be honest, like I heard a thing one time. It's always stuck with me. It said, "The comfort zone is where dreams go to die." Right? There's no truer statement than that because everybody gets comfortable. Even us to this day, we get up. I know this is what I got to do for work, and this I got to go here and a routine. Everybody gets comfortable in that stage, like, and that's fine. Like some people are good with living like that, and that's all right. Like there's days I question if our life is better than the one we have because of some of the shit we go through with companies and you know PA don't tell you how to run a business. They just say, you did it wrong, give us money. You know what I mean? Like, we're like, what did we do wrong? We don't even know. You know what I mean? Like, we have no idea. They're like, well, you owe us 100, like crazy shit like that. You don't learn how, only way you learn how to run businesses is when somebody tells you you're doing it wrong. It's pay this fine or do that or whatever. You got to pay this or it's always money or tax or whatever. Um, but at the end of the day, like I wouldn't trade this, even the chaos. Some weeks it's completely chaos. Like I wouldn't trade this life for anything. Like I know what true chaos is. Like we lived it for how many years? Like legit chaos. Like anything. I always say this all the time. Anything outside of that is an up for me. You know what I mean? Like nothing is that bad. When you go through the life we grew up in and all that, like nothing's that bad. Nothing's that serious. We'll figure it out. That's my biggest thing. We'll figure it out. Whatever. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I mean, look, again, I just, it was weird, but it's not usually the topic that we run with on this show, but it almost was like I got pulled into it. Like I get sick of hearing people try to blame the world on why they can't succeed. And, I think it's amazing. So like, I forget who said this originally, but not only are they already don't want to try, right? Like that's from the beginning. So like, for as long as they're not successful, they're going to point to this thing and that's why. Well, the economy and the dollar's fucked up and the houses are too much. And I can't get a girl or a wife or have kids because everybody's some fucked up person. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like there's this constant cop out all the time from everybody. Everybody, any younger dude I talk to, it's the same thing. It's like they completely check out. They don't want to. They don't want to participate in because they'll tell you, man. Like I mean, I don't know about like any of your younger kids or sons, but it's like they can't find girlfriends because they're all fucking retarded. Like they all just like it's just like one thing. I can't even imagine trying to date right now because I kind of get what they're getting at, but like there's the one dude keeps telling me it's like the 6 foot thing, like like, you have to be 6 foot, six figures, and six something else or whatever, or they won't try to talk to you. And this bitch is a 5. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she shouldn't be trying to command any kind of fucking, like, like you'd be lucky to get any attention at all. And like, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
They put on all the filters and fucking go on Snapchat and try and be like, I'm waiting for my millionaire. It's like, bitch, you're a fucking, like, you're lucky that like anybody wants to even look at you.
Well,
Point being,
that's the thing. I read this thing and it said, and not even to get off topic or whatever, but I know females like that. But here's the thing: a high value man is way more rare than a pretty girl, right? So what that says is you can have there's tons of pretty girls out there. To find a high value man, which means like he treats you right, he does well in his life, he has some morals and stuff like that. To be a high value man, that's way more rare to find. So like I just look at it like for the female, like you need to stop being so picky. You know what I mean? Because that's not it. That's not the fucking answer. You know what I mean? Like there's 10 of you right behind you. There's 5 of your friends the same way that are hotter than you. If you're basing just solely on looks, like that's not it. You know what I mean? Like even with Britt, like I'm sure people look at us and think, "Well, oh, he must have money or whatever." Or what you know? What I mean, like it's just the reality. Like they look at us and probably think like he got money or a big dick, one of the two, right? So what they don't know is I was broke when we were together. There was days where like we got to eat cup of noodles. You know what I mean? And this is like clean and us working and all that stuff. We didn't have the extra, like we were. I don't want to say poor, but like we didn't have money to do extra.
Definitely struggling.
Definitely struggling. Like, I mean, there's days they're like, all right, what bill do we pay? You know what I mean? Like, what bill can we push off so it don't get shut off? There was them days. Like, so it's not like we can. I mean, she came from Fayette County and grew up basically on in a trailer park on a farm. You know what I mean? Like, I came from my
farms. Yeah. Don't you go bashing farms. I don't want to hear that shit.
But we got this thing. We got this thing. We always joke with each other. And she got this thing like slamming doors really hard, right? Car doors, house doors, whatever it is, slamming really hard. She don't even notice it. And I'm like, is that because you had to slam the trailer doors so hard to close? And she laughs about it. But it's like we didn't come from like. We surrounded ourselves with some people that seen potential in us because we had the ambition in ourselves. Like we see all them young kids that, it's real easy to look for somebody to blame. I'm not here because of this. I'm not here because of the housing market. I didn't buy a house because the market's fucked up. I didn't buy, I'm not at this job because this happened. It's real easy to blame everyone. Then they don't feel so shitty about themselves. But the reality is any fucking buddy can do anything at any given point in time. It's just back to the thing, risk. You want to take the risk of stepping out of your comfort zone. Most people don't. So it's easier for them to blame somebody. It's good, it's because this president's in, that president was in. It gets so fucking crazy. Like the blame game gets so wild and so wide. Like, I mean, at that point, you can blame anybody for anything. Like I hear so many people say this.
Here's the thing. A lot of things that hold people back when it comes to even trying anything at all is that they don't want to they don't measure what success there could be. They measure the work that it would take, and that's where everyone kind of falls short. So like they're like this is going to be hard, and they're measuring what they want to do by how hard it's going to be, not by how much you want it or how successful or how good it would be by actually doing it. That's where laziness comes from. That's why people are lazy, because I see it as hard. I see it as a difficult thing to do, not that it's a goal to accomplish, if that makes sense. Like that's where I see like and I think this is the type of thing you just learn. Nobody can just tell you it. Like you can say whatever you want to certain people, but they don't hear it because they haven't tried to live it yet. But like, I think a lot of stuff that holds people back from trying it all is they'll give you every excuse in the world, anything that they see online. All the bitches are fives and they all think that they're dimes and they all want millionaires. So I'm never going to get a wife. And that means I'm never going to be able to actually have kids. And I'm never going to be successful because the houses are too much and the economy sucks. And Trump's a fascist or whatever fucking retarded shit somebody's saying that day. But the point is I am not that I am the most successful person in the world, but I have been in a place where most people don't survive from. So I can tell you that if you just do the work and don't worry about how much work it's going to be, put your nose down and get after it, before you know it, you're going to pick your head up and realize you can't even see where you came from anymore. And I think that applies to everybody. That's how it works. Nobody wants to hear that because it's not an easy solution, but it is what it is. Like that's just how it works. Yep. And what I think I might try to do is try to clip certain parts of this because, what the people that I would be talking to are not hour and a half long podcast people. So like you have to, their attention spans are fucking like,
Yeah, yeah.
they can't do it. They can't. I'm telling you. I mean, it's amazing. Try to get one of your kids to watch anything that's longer than 5 minutes and watch what happens. They
won't watch a movie.
gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
They don't watch.
But what I want to say, Joe, is like for real. Thank you for coming on. It's been good. Right now, there's another one of my buddies that's streaming, so I could see that like people are popping back and forth. So I got to try and see if I can figure out how to raid him. It's like send everybody over there. But is there anything you want to finish up with? Is there anything you want to say, or I don't know if you? I mean, I'm sure if you want to, you can plug the business or whatever. But we haven't said this is probably the first show where there hasn't been a single racial slur yet, and I don't know if I should remedy that or what.
I stay out of all that as being a business owner.
I know you do, but I don't.
My philosophy is if you like it, I love it. Fuck it, whatever makes
Yeah.
you happy. You know what I mean? Like all the way hooked to whoever you voted for. I don't want to get into that, but whoever you voted for, cool. That's who you like, cool. You know what I mean? Like whoever you it's so hard to change people's minds. Back to the open-minded thing. Like that's why some people will stay the way they are for fucking ever and die that way. On a side note, like we're not out here. I say this all the time. I'm not out here to buy stuff and buy shit I don't really need to impress people I really don't like. I'm out here buying memories with my kids, and sometimes they only cost a couple dollars. Sometimes it's the cheapest thing I fucking buy. It's the most valuable thing. That's fucking basically it. That's what we measure success on anymore. Is the memories we have for people, the people closest to us, our employees, our fucking kids. Like we try to just buy memories forever, good memories, because the world is a fucked up place anymore. So,
All right. Well, look, I do have to remedy something real quick. Kike nigger faggot. Just we got to get that. I can't I can't let it go for the whole show.
Yeah. Don't let it slip by.
All right, Drew. Do anything? I know you. It's been a lot of me and Joe kind of conversing, but is there anything you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I mean a lot of what Joe was saying resonated with me in a lot of ways. I was just absorbing it. I feel like I was a fly on the wall in a sense to a meeting that feeds the soul and kind of lets you know you're not alone, and other people have been down and been in similar situations, some worse, some not as bad, and it's inspiring at the same token as well. So I appreciate you, Joe, for talking with us and putting yourself out there.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on too. Well, pleasure.
I doubt very many people are left here because they're probably all over at Nice Guys, not Nice Guys podcast, but I got merch, Joe. If you want any, I can send some to you. There's your ticket to the shit show, and there's shit show crew member. I had a bunch of people ask me on X to get some stickers and send them out to them. So I got to put some stuff in the mail tomorrow. But yeah, well, I mean, it's been a good show. Honestly, this type of thing it's something that's lived and learned. You could say, right, see, disaster avoided. You got to get them slurs in before we get out of here. So, I mean, it's the type of stuff that I think you have to learn. Nobody can really tell you these types of things, but it still should be said because most people, they got to live it. They don't want to hear it, But thanks for coming on, dude. Is there anything at all you want to add? Do you want to add anything before we head on out?
No, I'm good. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah. Anytime you want to come back, Joe, you want to bust it up. Next week, if anybody's still here, Ass Blood is coming on. That's going to be a banger. Yeah, I don't think we're going to make it out of the first 3 seconds without a bunch of slurs. Drew, I don't know if you've met him yet, but he's the best Jew you'll ever fucking meet. I'm telling you, he's fucking fantastic.
That-
Wait, just wait, just
Well,
wait. I'm telling you.
I recall you telling me little tidbits about some of the shenanigans that'll go on. So next week should be fun. Looking
It's
forward to it.
it's it's going to be a blast. I'm telling you. And for whoever doesn't know, I'm in contact with Owen Benjamin to get him on. We're trying to work on a date. As soon as I can nail a date down with him, that's going to be another banger. Like, I mean, if you don't, I don't know who, some people may or may not know him, but it's good. That's going to be another banger that's in the works. But I guess that's it, right? Nobody has anything else?
all good.
Okay. All right. Well, this was the shit show. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you guys on the next one.